here, and today I'm going to give you a tour of my studio in Urbana, Illinois. Welcome to my happy place. It doesn't usually look this clean. I actually took a picture of what it looked like before I tidied up in here for the video, and I want to just sort of show you what it actually looks like most of the time. Then I wanted to talk a little bit about my journey as a weaver. So a year ago, I would have called myself a beginning weaver. I actually was terrified of warping my loom. But this past fall, I had the opportunity to study for 15 weeks at the Fabric of Life Weaving Immersion Program. And that has just completely changed, everything about how I weave. So I have a couple of examples here, like these were little things that I did on a rigid heddle, and then these are some placemats that I made before I went there. So this is sort of where I was less than a year ago. And then these are just a few of the things that I made during the 15 weeks that I was able to study with Becky in Massachusetts, which if any of you have ever taken any of Becky's classes, you know that she's just an absolutely amazing teacher and weaver. And I learned so much, and it was just the best experience. One of the best things I've ever done. So just to sort of show the progress, this is like a fine linen, satin tablecloth, and my draw loom piece. I have this fun little cat over here, which my cats aren't allowed in the studio, so I have this cat here that I can pet when I can't pet my real cats. And then this was actually the last thing I made. I actually had a lot of fun learning how to do bands, which was something I'd never done before. And this was a pickup band that I did as my very last project at the farmhouse. So this room actually used to be our master bedroom. So you can see it has the 2 closets. And that's great because it gives you tons of storage. This is mostly fabric, commercial fabric, not fabric I've made, and some hand spun. And all my sewing patterns are up there. And then, so I used to have a smaller room was my sewing room. And so we have all the stuff that used to be in the sewing room. So notions for sewing, my serger, my sewing machine, all of my thread, the ironing board for pressing. And then the weaving storage is mostly over here. So cones of yarn, heddles and other loom parts are in here. And then shuttles and quills are all in here. And actually, there used to be a lot more of these cabinets. So there used to be an entire row of cabinets along that back wall when it was the master bedroom. So when we decided to give me a bigger space because I bought a huge loom and it would not fit in my sewing room, instead of giving me a second room, we decided to just give up the master bedroom. And so obviously we had to get rid of the bed, but we also had to, get rid of most of these cabinets, and we moved them over here. And then it became my studio space. And so the final thing was obviously we had to bring the loom in and get it all set up. So this is the heart of the studio. It's my 60-inch Uxaback 8-shaft countermarch loom, which I bought out of Massachusetts. It's actually an older loom. It was from the 1970s, and I actually bought it from the person who originally imported it from Sweden, and it's kind of cool. She gave me all the original paperwork, including this is a map of the customs facility where presumably she had to go pick it up. And I just think it's cool that I have all the history of the loom. So I obviously bought it out of Massachusetts, but then we had to get it out to Illinois. And I looked into shipping it, but that was just like ridiculously expensive. So we ended up taking it in my car, and most of the pieces fit inside of the car, so most of it comes apart and they lay flat, so that all went inside of the car. But the gables, the side of the loom, were just too big. They absolutely did not fit. And so we had to actually put them on top of the car. And not only did we have this long journey, from Illinois to Illinois, but we actually made several stops along the way. We spent Thanksgiving with some relatives, and so we had to make sure that water didn't damage the loom on the way out there. So we actually wrapped it in this giant plastic wrap a couple of times, and then also had a tarp on it on top of the car. And it made it out safely. In fact, there's no water damage. Water did not get inside except for in one tiny corner. The rest of it was absolutely dry. So we got it out here safely, and I figured out how to get it all set up, and so it's now weaving again for the first time in many years. But I do like that it sort of has the history. I love seeing the marks from the previous weaver. And there's not actually a warp on it right now because I'm waiting for some more heddles. I'm going to finally be using the entire 60 inches of the full width of the loom, so I'm pretty excited about that. But most of what I've been doing with it so far is weaving some towels that I designed. So I've been having a lot of fun with that. And it's nice that it's getting used again after many years of not being used. So thank you for joining me on a tour of my studio, and I hope that you learned something interesting.